How's it going, Devils fans? Hope you're all having a wonderful day today. We have concluded our second day of the NHL draft, and the Devils were definitely not quiet. They made some trades, they made some moves, trading, you know, uh, picks, going a little down to the draft to get some extra picks, of course. They traded John Marino away for 2 second-round picks. We kind of saw that coming. He was going to get traded. I think the value was fair, for what he provides, his contract. I think 2 second-round picks make sense, and the Devils are trying to make some space. And on the right-hand side, potentially acquiring Pesci. That's definitely a big piece. And again, the Devils are definitely going to make moves in the offseason, whether through free agency or trade. They need some more guys on that side, and see what happens. And with that first second-round pick, it was for 2024. So the Devils did acquire the top North American goaltender in this draft. A guy who was kind of projected to be more of a third-round pick. But with goalies, you never know what could happen. The Devils don't take the risk. They take it in the second round. And they got another second-round pick for next year, which I'm thinking, given where the Devils are at, definitely might be a trade piece. We thought the 10th overall pick would have been a trade piece, so you never know what's going to happen to that. But anyways, of course, I wanted to talk about the biggest news of today, the news that I think upset a lot of Devils fans. And when I saw it first, I was kind of shrieking a little bit. The Devils, they trade away Alexander Holtz, they trade away Akira Schmid, and in return, they get Paul Cotter, and they get a third-round pick. Devils fans really thought that Alexander Holtz, if involved in a trade, would be able to get a lot more than that. Obviously, he is the biggest piece in this trade. Schmid, he had a pretty good run with us in the 2022-23 season. He put up some pretty good regular season stats, and in the playoffs, that first round, he was fantastic against the Rangers, but he had a pretty big downfall season this past year. He's young. I think he has some potential. Maybe he's able to figure something out with Vegas. But Holtz is obviously the key piece here. A guy who just, had a breakout season. He definitely has room for a lot more. But 28 points, played almost a full season. He showed that, his slower foot speed, wasn't going to deter him from becoming an NHL regular. And, his defensive play wasn't great. He was sheltered, fourth line minutes under Lindy for a lot of his time this past season with the Devils. He was a 7th overall pick 4 years ago. He still has a lot of potential to be, I don't think like a star, but a pretty good player. You could, maybe put the puck behind the net 25 to 30 times in a season. I think he definitely can still be that. So the Devils give that up, and they're not getting a whole lot in return. The third-round pick, it's a pick, maybe a part of a trade. You never know. But obviously the main return here is Paul Cotter. And, we were expecting more in a trade involving Holtz, but clearly that was the most the Devils were able to get from him at this point. And Fitzy claimed that there just was not a place for him in the bottom six, so they acquire this guy, a guy who, he's on the younger side. He's 24. His contract is really friendly. The Devils, obviously have a lot of cap space now, like over 19 million. But as they start to re-sign sign some guys, they have to, down the line sign Luke Hughes and Nemitz and Dawson Mercer. And they're going to be acquiring some guys in free agency this year. They need some space. And so getting a guy minimum for the next 2 years, that's good. He's a fourth line center, and he played a lot of wing with Vegas. Did not take many faceoffs, and he produced a little below Holtz. 25 points in almost a full season. Did not play any playoff games. My first thought when I saw this was like, okay, this is like McLeod's replacement. But he's not the faceoff guy that McLeod is, obviously. He's a guy he's speedy. His advanced stats weren't amazing, but I think with a new team, maybe he can figure it out. But he's a guy that, from Vegas fans, from what I've seen from scouts and just anything I've seen on him, it seems like I don't honestly know a whole lot about him. Most of what I learned was from today. But he's a guy who hustles and gives it his all, and, he's got some solid speed, and I think that he gets an opportunity maybe to play center, fourth line with the Devils. We'll see if he can take that on and move forward with it. But I think with the contract, you need guys like that. He's a hitter for sure. That's the thing that the Devils really need. They need a physical guy so he can provide some physicality, good effort, some speed in that fourth line. It's the kind of player that a strong team can use to make a good cup run, and you need some of those role guys. So I think it's a player that definitely can help the Devils. But But for the return, it's a little bit brutal to lose Holtz for not so much of a return. And then Schmid, of course, too. Again, he's definitely much more of a question mark. But the Devils get a player that can help them. He can definitely solidify that fourth line, provide some grit that the Devils really need. I mean, again, the Devils, they gave McDermott a 3-year contract because they need the physicality. And again, we see that time and time in the playoffs. The teams that are physical and can hit and can really get under the skin of other teams are the ones that can make those deep runs. So he definitely can be a piece for that. It's an expensive return to give up. But regardless, the Devils are in a good situation. They have a goaltending tandem that I feel like we feel a lot more confidence in for the next couple of years. They have the potential to really build that defense this free agency, and it seems like that's the intention. And hopefully if guys can stay healthy, and again, we got that really strong offense, we can have a good season this year and maybe make a run in the playoffs. Those are my thoughts. I'm not amazingly optimistic, but I do think Cotter can provide some good grit and production, a little bit of production for this team on the fourth line. And we'll see how it goes. We just got to cross our fingers. Holtz isn't too good with the Knights. I could see him having a good season, at least a couple years down the road. But we'll see what happens. Cotter is a Devil, and we also got a third-round pick for next year. So those are my thoughts. We'd love to hear what you have to say as well. As always, let's go Devils.